So where did you grow up, Jackie?
I was born in Hosier Street, which is now called Queen Mary Street and called the White Scheme. So I was born there until I lived there until I was 10 years old, and then moved up to Millerfield, which was, it was like a palace. You thought you were in a palace, because in Hosier Street was a room, what they called a room and kitchen. I'm the youngest of 5. So there was my brother. I don't remember my oldest sister being in the house, but my 2 brothers and my sister, I remember them being there. My dad died when I was 6 months old, so I never knew him. And I just always remember my mother being out working. She worked in the pubs. After he died, she went and worked in the pubs. And as I say, when we were 10, it had to be that, what was it, that you had to get a room because there was so many in a family.
The age thing.
Aye, and it was,
if
the youngest one was 10, that was when they had to have more rooms in the house, hence the reason we got the house up at Millerfield, and it was upstairs and downstairs, and a bathroom.
Fancy. So the original room and kitchen was in a tenement?
Yeah,
Yeah,
tenement.
yeah.
And when you think about it, the toilet, you went down the stairs to the toilet, and the clothes, you know, down the stairs. But do you know, they talk about places being slums and that. I don't ever remember that. I mean, the stairs were always, everybody took their turn of the stairs, washing the stairs. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't, you were called, oh, she's a classy bitch, her. You know, that's what they done.
True.
You know, so, and even, although it was outside toilets, I always remember it being spotless.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, like, you never heard the toilet roll?
No.
It was
like
newspaper.
Or into the thin tissue paper.
No. Well, I always remember it was on a nail on the door, and people used to cut their newspaper up and put it up. When you think about it. But hey ho.
Yeah, we
and
move
the spiders and everything else that came in there with you.
Is that right?
You would have some visitors when you were there.
But I think they were all fun days. I mean, I can remember, even if your pals weren't coming out to play, you went out yourself and you played like, balls.
That's right.
Against
or
the wall.
elastics with your pals.
Aye, you know, so you
made
always,
your own.
You made your own fun. There was always something to do, skipping ropes or playing rounders.
2-man hunt.
Usually the whole street played
Everybody
rounders.
in the street played at it.
You know, so things like that. It was.
And there weren't many cars.
I don't remember any cars. When we moved up to Millerfield, the only car I remember, and it was because of my Uncle Joseph, he had a red Zephyr.
Fancy.
Yes, and oh yeah, I loved that when he came up to visit in Millerfield, and this red Zephyr, I thought, oh, that's my uncle. He's loaded. But that would be when he would come up from London. That was my uncle. He was an actor. He was Joe Brady and Jock Weir and Zedcars at the time. And he came from here as well. They were all, my mother and their family, they were born in Hearn Street, which is, I'm trying to think where that is now.
Is that not down there?
No, it's down there. There was Hosier Street, Pern Street, and then I'm sure it was Hearn Street at the back. Now you're going towards Brishard Groves, Hearn Street. So it was.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But as kids, you kind of, you don't know any difference, so you kind of accept where you are. But looking back, I mean, clearly not ideal.
No.
Well, no, I don't see it like that. I really don't see it like that. I knew we didn't have a lot of money or anything like that, but then nobody really did, you know. It's not like today where it's, you know, you've got to have the best of gear and the kids have got to have the dearest shoes and all that kind of thing. So everybody was the same. That's the way I remember it.
Your cousin you'd get hand-me-downs for your auntie and uncle from your cousins because it didn't fit them anyway, but it would fit you.
Well, no,
so
I was quite lucky that way because I was the youngest.
I wish you got all the
And
fits.
they were all-
That's
aye.
where we had to like share clothes and somebody else would get your stuff if it wasn't wrecked.
Aye.
We did a lot of that.
Aye.
Was that within the family or within the wider community?
Wider community as well. It would be a friend of a friend or a friend of your dad's or somebody else who said, oh, I've got loads of stuff here. There was three girls, so it was all girl stuff that we had. So folk would give you stuff. Because my mum died when I was 10, so my dad brought us up, which was probably really difficult for a man at that time. But it was that or you would be put into a home, and my dad always looked after us that way. It would never make anything happen to you. But it was always a sense of community as well. So like if I went to my friend's house, her mum would say, would you like your dinner here? You know, everybody round about would look after each other, and like they know that we didn't have a mum, so sometimes we'd go to her friend's house and she would sit and say how you doing the day and girly things to make up.
What was it like being a teenager? By this stage, obviously, you'd moved up a bit. But what was it like being a teenager? Where did you go? Where did you go to meet boys? Where did you, all that kind of stuff?
I wasn't allowed to do much of that because of my dad. He was very strict with three girls, so we didn't get to do a lot.
We were allowed to go to the Carlton disco. It was I think it was like a church run thing, and crowd of us for Kilmarnock. We all went to the Carlton disco. So I reckon we would be about 14 at the time. But you had to be back for 11 o'clock, last bus. And when I think about it, you thought it was wonderful because they were all good looking guys that came for the Carlton. So they did. And saying that, most of them I went to school with anyhow. But it was more a laugh than anything. Sort of went for a laugh and to socialise and that. Wasn't it a case of thinking, oh, I'm going to get a boyfriend or anything like that. I think when I was that age, goodness, right up to quite an older age, I was really naive. I was really quiet. Although when I was out at the dancing, I loved dancing. I was fine. Just as long as I got a good laugh. That was me. I was as happy
hard
as
to
Larry.
believe she was quiet, eh?
Yeah.
Is that right? Aye.
Back in the day. But we used to go. You were never quiet. Did you look like it? Back in the day, we used to go to the pictures, right? So we would go up. At that time, I stayed in Carntine way back. So we would go up onto Alexandra Parade, but further along, it's not there anymore. We would go to the pictures on a Saturday.
Oh, did you go to the
And then at
flea
half time, see before the next. So there would be two pictures. So they would show you one picture, then it would be like a disco down at the front where the seats are. So you would have a disco there and everybody would be dancing and you'd get your ice cream or your juice or whatever you got. And then you'd see the second picture, which was usually Buck Rogers or somebody like that you'd be watching. And that was our entertainment.
Oh,
What did you call it?
the flea
Flea
pit,
pit.
it got called. That's right.
It's
I never went.
Across the Alexandra Park.
That's
Was it
right.
Alexandra
Aye,
Park?
aye, it was there.
It was all in that corner.
There's one that's still there.
No,
There's
that's
bingo.
the parade. That's
okay.
the parade. It's now a cafe or
There's a bingo. There's a bingo on the Commonwealth Road.
That's right. Well, it was just down from there. Down from there, almost in the corner. See where the junction is.
Yeah, where the
So
car.
it was
There's
kinda,
a
where the car
place.
place is.
Right.
It was just round about there. And
Well,
we
I
used
was
to go
never
in.
in it when I was younger.
Aye.
It was the reason I know about it and went to it. I worked in Wills, the cigarette factory, and it was when my pals and I went to see what was it, the National Lampoon or something like that. And of course we'd heard that I always knew this was called the flea pit, and of course when I get in there I'm sitting like this because you're imagining,
It really didn't have any fleas
No,
in
it
it, but
didn't.
it was just given that name because it was a bit run down.
Aye. That was how I knew that.
Aye.
That was only
And I
really
remember
to being in it.
standing through 2 sessions of Grease because it was so busy that you had to stand. It's not like now you can order it online and just go in. Back then you had to stand and wait and give your money to the person in this wee bothy. So if the picture house was full, you had to stand to the next picture was due, till it was due again, and that's what we had to do to see Grease. but it was well worth it.
Grease is the word.
Grease is
So,
definitely the word.
what about your first job? So you said you worked at the Wheels Factory and
My
on the
first
parade.
job was an office junior in David Ald's in David Street, which is going towards...
The Barras.
No, going towards where the retail park is.
Oh, aye.
That was up that way. So I left school at 15 and that was my first job. And then I left there when I was 17, that was when I went to Wills. I thought I was a millionaire. I think my first wage was £18 and that was a load of money then. But I used to give my mother my wages and she would give you money back, buy your clothes and all that. And I remember, do you remember, it got called going in your own can? Going in your own can. You wanted
like
to
you pay your own way.
pay your own way. You just handed in dig money then. And I remember thinking,
So your dig money was your money towards the
aye,
housekeeping.
I want to go in my own can. But you know, I remember being terrified asking my mummy, can I go in my own can?
Aye.
And she went, aye, no bother. You know, so that was it. So therefore you were responsible for buying your own clothes, your whatever you needed and that kind of thing. And I worked in Mills for 17 and a half years till they made us all redundant. I think it was a year. It lasted another year, it was running down. That was when it was shutting down. And then were the great days. And
Yeah, I think it had just
Mills.
about shut down when did it shut down? Late 80s,
I
early
think,
90s?
I think it was it no 1991 or
Yeah,
something like that?
could have been,
I
yeah.
think it was. So I would have left in 1990.
Right.
I was totally devastated. Devastated. Because it was a great job, great money. And it got called Butlin's Holiday Camp. So it did, you know. Plus we had the social side of that and the social club. So if you were on the back shift, it was like 2 shifts. You had early shift and back shift. So early shift was like 6 to 2, 6 to 1, 6 to 11 o'clock. And then the back shift was your 2 nights at 2 to 10. Then it was 1 o'clock to 7:30. And then 11 o'clock to, I think it was 4 o'clock. I think it was that. And of course on a Thursday night, when your shift was finished, we would go and get ready and go to the Wills Club. And then up to the dancing, up to the Savoy. And back the next morning into work.
A youth well spent. So you've seen the changes that have happened around here, which have been substantial. I mean, a lot.
Oh,
a lot.
Aye, definitely.
So how do you feel about it now? Because you're still here, you're still in the area. How do you feel about it now?
I think some of the changes they've done are for the good, the housing and that type of thing. The way they've placed out some of the roadworks and that, I think it's absolutely crazy the way they've done that.
What, closing off streets and...
Not so much closing off streets, the way they've done it. See that street coming up the main street to your house and you turn it into Hall Street?
Uh-huh.
I mean, the way they've
That's beside the Clyde Gateway.
Aye. Just the way they've designed that. Sort of put a camber in it. What's the reason for that? I don't see the reason for that. But however. But aye, I would say for the housing and that, it's a lot better.
Much better housing.
Aye, a lot better
But,
housing. But there's still a
there's
lot
too
of crazy
many.
people here, aren't there?
Oh, really?
Well, I suppose there is. Nearly
Everywhere.
everywhere, you know. But aye.
I was
There has
saying
been a lot of
yesterday about
changes.
the amount of housing that they're building just now. There is so many areas that had nothing that have got so much housing being built just now. What are we going to do about the extra transport and extra shops, schools for kids?
Yep.
All of this stuff needs to be... They maybe need to sit down and kind of tell us a wee bit more about... Because all we know is they start building, we see this house is going to be there. We don't know who they are, what they're for, where they're coming from, and what's going to happen to benefit the area. Because they're putting it's going to be so dense. There's going to be so many people living
Yep,
about
aye.
this area. that we need to know that things are going to change in all the other places.
You need the facilities. You need
Absolutely.
and you'd have thought that Glasgow City would have learned that by now. I mean, the mistakes they made the first time, creating. I think there was not Easter House. There wasn't a single shop or a pub. Kind of, it was absolutely
That's
crazy.
what, like it is at the Commonwealth Village.
Aye.
That's what's wrong with them. Their nearest shop they've got is Tesco.
Aye, you're up at Parkhead.
Or they have to go up to Parkhead. They don't have that. See, years and years ago, we had like a shop, and then we had a butcher's. We had the post office.
The chippy.
We had the chip shop. We had 2 chippies. We had a second-hand shop for furniture and stuff. So, and a chemist. Latterly, a chemist. But so everybody used the shop, and there was a big fruit shop. Jim's fruit shop was on the corner. So everything we needed, we could have stayed in the area if we chose to. Obviously, clothes and stuff, everybody went into town. Because you would go where it was cheapest. But they lost all of that. They lost the shops, the community bit, all of that was lost. So they're now up there. They have a van that comes round, an ice cream van that maybe holds milk and bread and stuff. But people have to go to Tesco to get their shopping, and it's a bit much. So they really need that. The village was great for what it was built for, the purpose of it. But then once they started putting people in it, they didn't think about they'd fed all the athletes. They were all in a great big tent and being fed. But once they took that away, where were the people that were there supposed to get their food from?
Aye.
So that's something that maybe they hopefully they've learned. Well, all these new houses,
You would think.
they're going to put other stuff in it.
You would think, yeah. Talking about the Clyde Gateway, I asked Rose about this yesterday, but what's your recollections of any kind of relationship with the river when you were a kid? Did you ever go down to the river? Did you walk along it? Did you go paddling in it?
I wasn't allowed to do that.
Ah, right.
It would be probably when I got a bit older. I would walk down, because where we stayed in Millerfield, the Masonettes, I stayed in the Masonettes there. The Clyde was behind, the side and behind us. And funny enough, I never really ventured down either because I knew I wasn't allowed. As I got older, sometimes I would like to take a walk from Millerfield, maybe going up to, in fact it would be up where Cunningar Loop is just now. But I never really ventured further along the Clyde and that.
But you wouldn't want anybody to stop you?
No. I dare say I tend to now, I think I appreciate it more now. When I was younger, it was a case of being a teenager and that kind of thing. The thing that interested me was need to get home and get ready to go to the dancing. And I can remember one of my uncles coming from America and talking about, I can't remember, we were talking about somewhere, and he's like, look at that building, Jacqueline, that is beautiful. And I'm like, oh, right, okay.
We have so much beauty about it, that you don't actually take notice of it.
Not till I got older now, I can look at something, especially even around here, buildings, and I go, that building is beautiful, And I tend to use the green for walking, and I like to walk by the Clyde side. What I love to see on the Clyde is when you see the rowing boats out. I think that just looks wonderful. I really think that looks wonderful, and it must be, although they're doing it to whatever practice and whatnot, I think that must be a really relaxing thing to do.
Well, see the Humane Society, which is George Parsonage. He was my art teacher at school.
Oh, was he? Was he?
And I remembered the things that we used to remember about it was when I went to Whitehill, the new Whitehill. I didn't go to the old one, I went to the new one. And see if there was somebody in trouble on the Clyde, along would come this police car, and he would be rushed out, and there would be a boat in the back, and they would take him down to the Clyde because he was the man. It was his dad first, Ben Parsonage, and then it was George, and he still lives down there. And what an amazing man he's been. He did so much to clean it up and take care. He still, even now, if you go onto Facebook, he'll tell you about things that are going to happen or problems that have arisen in the Clyde to warn people in advance. He is an amazing man. And I'm really grateful to him because he was such a good teacher. He always gave us a lot of fun while we were doing it. You weren't just in there to do that. He came across as a really nice person, and I'll never forget him. But when we were smaller, but when my kids were small, we then stayed in Millerfield. We stayed in the flats. So I would never really let them out very much. But what we would do is take them a walk round by the Clyde. So I knew exactly where you were talking about. I had never known about that wall dyke being there. But there's a couple of benches down there. And it's like a bit, see down from the Celtic Club, there's a couple of benches there. So when it was a nice day, we used to take a picnic and sit with the kids just by the river, but no near enough the river. But it was a wee bit away, but it was just somewhere nice to go. You felt as though you weren't in a housing scheme, you were somewhere by a river, and it was a sunny day, and it was great. I would love to go back to that kind of time.
That's lovely. Yeah. So have you been enjoying the singing?
I've been loving it. My voice is terrible just now because it's really croaky. It's a bit better today, but we're loving it. And I'm so grateful to know about this because I never in my life had we heard anything about this.
You know, it's funny, it used to be quite well known until, as I said to you, until the war, I think, and then everybody forgot about it. And I was surprised. It's such a good story. I was surprised that everybody sort of knew it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of...
it's something that I'm grateful now that I know about it because I'm going to tell my kids, not so much my kids, they're older, but my grandkids, I'm going to tell them about this so that this is something that can carry on.
That's how it works. Smashing. All right, listen, thank you, ladies. That's absolutely brilliant. Much